Welcome back once again to 1983, and it is time for the first edition of World Class Television in March 1983. To give you all a recap, we saw Kamala, we saw El Hijo del Tejas, the Fantastics, Kevin Von Erich, and the Samoan, as well as the fabulous Freebirds, reign victorious at February's big event pay-per-view, Star Wars. And speaking of a big match, or pay-per-view worthy match, Bruiser Brody fought Dickie Murdoch to a no contest. And I could tell you that for the next Star Wars, which will be at the end of the month, Bruiser will face Dickie once again. But also, like I mentioned in the last episode, Chris Adams would be facing one member of the fabulous Freebirds, and I'm going to work to get Chris Adams his win back. Also, I just wanted to mention that after losing his last match to Kevin Von Erich in the title match, that is the last you will see of the great Kabuki in the World Class Championship Wrestling, and that is because Kabuki is leaving. Unfortunately. I would love it if Kabuki could stay, but unfortunately Kabuki is leaving. Ignore that. Unfortunately, Kabuki is leaving, and, well, pretty much has taken his momentum with him, so well, you know what? We're gonna have 2 title matches tonight. You know what? Since it's gonna end in a draw, well, why make it a title match? I mean, I know I should probably focus on the Fantastics versus... You know what? Let's do that. Because the Guerreros haven't been booked since the first week of February, so let's book the Fantastics versus the Guerreros. This does not necessarily mean that the Fantastics will be going will be facing the Guerreros in wait. This does not necessarily mean that the Guerreros will be feuding with the Freebirds. I mean, well, they're not feuding with the Freebirds. They just lost to them in January. This does not mean they'll be feuding with the Fantastics. I apologize. My mind is going about mile a minute, and if you can't tell, my mouth is going faster than my mind, or I don't know. I'm confused. Either way, we have 2 promos tonight. One with Mark Lawrence and Bruiser Brody and Dickie, and the other is Terry Gordy, Michael Hayes, and Buddy Roberts. And even though I don't have to include him because that's just how I set the feud up, the Von Erichs will be involved. And now I also just want to announce that with all things considered, you know what, I actually just remembered that, who cares? Mark Lawrence could be included. I was gonna say I just remembered that I don't put like the birds get the birds do their own promos, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But, you know what? Let's switch this up, because I don't want people to think, like, okay, why is Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy not there with Buddy Roberts at ringside? Because the match happened here. You follow? There we go. That's how it should be. What's the other thing I could say? Oh, yeah. Good. The title prestige raised. I didn't even notice. From a match with Bill Irwin. Okay. This... Oh, that's what it was. I haven't decided what titles are going to be on the line at the next pay-per-view. But I have a month to figure it out. So let's jump into the show. The Guerreros over Tommy Rogers and the Guerreros beat the Fantastics to put them a step further up the tag team division ranks. The Birds are with Mark Lawrence, and they talk up their win at last month's pay-per-view, and what this means for the future, especially with the fact that Buddy Roberts will be victorious once again tonight and become world-class television champion. And then the Freebirds will be another step closer to having all the gold. And one of your Von Erich's buddies is gonna fall victim to us again tonight. You know, basically I give them most of the promo, but I just have them gloss over the fact that Buddy is going for a title, the fact that they have the American Tag Team titles and the six-man titles already, and this would be their first singles title. You know, I'd gloss over those facts, and I'd, you know, pretty much basically hype the match, and hype up the fact that Buddy Roberts is going for a singles title. And also, I'd put over the fact that Chris Adams is a friend to the Von Erichs, and will be in action against one of the Freebirds. So, putting that over too. Now we move to the second match with the Brass Knuckles champion Iceman Parsons versus the Missing Link, and the two of them drew for two reasons. One, I didn't know who to make win, and number two, neither one of them really have a direction. Neither one of them really have direction right now, and maybe, just maybe, a draw could open me up to giving them some direction. Even if it is just a month feud, it still could open me up to giving them some direction. By that I mean, what about a feud between Parsons and Missing Link? Or maybe even a feud between Parsons and Devastation Incorporated. I mean, I doubt it, because the other members of Devastation Inc. are the Mongol and Bugsy McGraw, and they're not the highest people on the card compared to where Link and Iceman Parsons are, so this could just be a couple-week feud going into the next big event for the Brass Knuckles title. So, but we'll see what happens. But this, my friends, is by far one of the better ways to start a feud. Or to give them, or at least something to give them consistent TV time. Too bad I didn't start the feud before the show, so this would have counted towards the feud. Oh well. Live and learn. Now we move to the next segment. Mark Lawrence calls out Bruiser Brody. And it isn't long before Dickie Murdoch and Gary Hart join them by the interview position. But Gary Hart takes the lead on Dickie and does not let Dick Murdoch get anywhere near Bruiser Brody because he knows what will happen. And Mark Lawrence, he looks at Mark Lawrence. You know, I'd give them most of the segment, but I'd ask Gary to put this over. The fact that the National Wrestling Alliance has arranged that Dick Murdoch and Bruiser Brody will not lay a hand on one another until the next time they are in the ring after what happened at the last pay-per-view, at the last big event, and the damage they caused in that arena. World Class can't simply afford it, and the NWA also wants to reassure the fans of their safety. And also, they decreed that if either Dick Murdoch or Bruiser Brody break this contract, then one of whoever does will be fired from the National Wrestling Alliance and will not be allowed to work in an NWA affiliated territory for 1 year. And that comes down from the president of the National Wrestling Alliance, who I believe at this time was Bob Geigel, I'm not sure. Which also was kind of fitting, because Dick Murdoch makes his home in Central States Wrestling, which is owned and operated by Bob Geigel. But either way, that means Murdoch and Brody can't lay a hand on each other until they are in the ring again. When that will be, I haven't decided yet. But either way, the tension is there. The hatred for one another and the desire to get back in the ring and fight and brawl with one another. Once again, it is developing between Brody and Murdoch. And you could feel it in the arena that everybody wanted them to fight. And now we move to the main event for the WCCW Television Championship. Chris Adams successfully defends the title against Buddy Roberts. And Chris gets the victory to retain his title and get his win back on the Freebirds after losing at the big event this past weekend. And that's how the show comes to a close with the TV title defense. And we increased our popularity in 10 regions with a final rating of a 69. I think I can attribute that to a good combination of some decent matches and good segments from the top talent in the company. I will say this, that next week you will likely see the Von Erichs in action in some form, and you will also see the Thunderfoots in action. That is Thunderfoot 3, and I believe it's Thunderfoot 1. I could be wrong, but I think it's Thunderfoot 1 who's still in a tag team with him. Thunderfoot 2 is still in the company, but is not around at the moment. There are plans in my head that may bring all 3 Thunderfoots back to television. It's just that I looked for whoever could team with the extra one, whoever had good chemistry with the extra one, and it just so happens that Thunderfoot 2, I think it's Thunderfoot 2, actually, now that I think about it. I think it's Thunderfoot 2 that has good chemistry with them, and because they have good chemistry, I just kept them together. That's it. And I never have Thunderfoot 1 team with Thunderfoot 3. As far as who they'd verse, I don't know yet. But I can also tell you this much, that starting next week, the build to the rematch between Missing Link and Iceman Parsons begins, as we move another step closer to the March Star Wars event, which will take place on the last Saturday of the month. And you will, I guarantee you, you will see most, if not all, world-class titles on the line. Actually, most world-class titles on the line, because the six-man titles cannot be on the line, as you cannot defend the six-man titles in a tag team match, and since Gordy and Michael Hayes are the tag team champions, there you go. And that's also the reason that why I can promise you this, and this is the last thing I'll say, that I can promise you this, that things will begin to change, if not this month, then next month, as we continue the story of the Von Erichs versus the Freebirds, and the development on my path to try and change World Class for the better, and not make them so reliant on the feud that put the territory on the map. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think of the series so far, and if you want to see more talent come in to World Class, let me know who you'd like to see come into the territory, as some talent has left following talent raids of the new national companies, or cold companies I should say. So there are some openings on the roster, and you can let me know down in the comment section below who you'd like to see, because I want to hear from you. But if you don't want to leave a comment, you can always leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. Till next time. Later.